Lawrence Heights is one of those neighborhoods in the city that is all too familiar with guns and gangs and the violence that goes along with them. In fact, just a couple of months ago, steps from me right now, a shooting took place. And that is why it is also an issue in this federal election, front and center. Have a look at this. From the beginning of the year until the end of September across the city, there were 340 shootings and 28 were fatal. That number, of course, has climbed over the last few days with the incidents near Jane Finch and Kipling and more people dying. Zoom in on the riding we're in right now, Eglinton Lawrence, and you will see more than 20 shootings during that same time. That makes public safety a huge concern for people here. So what needs to happen to make change here on the ground? And earlier this week, I took some time to speak with some of the grassroots leaders, people in these neighborhoods actually trying to make a difference, and hear their thoughts about what they want to hear from those federal leaders as well.
There used to be a playground in the back here.
She's been there and she gets it. Melissa Hood grew up in a community that she says has been underserved, and gun violence is now the norm. Why does it go down that road?
Well, because we feel that no one's paying attention to us. So how are we going to get the cause and effect? By doing negative, trying to get negative attention, and that's what it is.
Where does all this come from?
Well, I think if you go to the seed, the actual, seed that the roots sprout from would be marginalization, poverty. People who come from communities like this feel like they have no voice.
Marcel Wilson survived his time on the streets and says it's not just about getting rid of guns. It's about impacting young people early and steering them in the right direction.
Addressing extreme violence in the city at a grassroots level, I believe, is the main solution to tackling the problems that we're seeing.
The call is for more funding and support for neighborhood-led groups, but the city is also providing programs and services at local community centers, places they say can be considered safe havens. It's not necessarily just the kids that are going to get in trouble. It's the other ones that want to escape that, I would assume, and that safety factor is huge.
Right. I mean, our doors are open. Our community centers' doors are always open, and specific programming for youth is something that we value and that we're always trying to improve upon.
Youth outreach workers are also available in select areas to connect with and help those in need of guidance.
We all live in a community, right? So the reality is we want to see our community members thriving, developing, and enjoying, from our perspective, PFNR perspective, our programming.
And for those who escaped the violence, it's simply a matter of providing more.
How do we get, into the minds of people that want to pick up a gun? How do we prevent them from doing so? So for me, what helped was community programs, community outreach.
Earlier today, I had an opportunity to sit down with Toronto Police Chief Mark Saunders one-on-one to talk about guns and gangs and the violence in these very neighborhoods and how best to solve those problems beyond just putting officers on the streets for everyone to see. We'll be back with that in just a few minutes.